Hello and welcome to the Rewild You podcast. I'm Hannah Ray, and through my work as a coach, I support people to rebuild and thrive beyond loss or adversity that changes our world. If you're looking to harness your inner strength, reclaim your authentic self, and create a purposeful, aligned life, this podcast is for you. Here we delve into powerful, real-life stories of transformation, plus tools and insights to help guide you to finding your way forward. If you're ready to rise stronger and live fully, to rewild you, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today, I am really excited to be speaking with Aaron, who is a life, mindset, and fitness coach based in the beautiful town of Wanaka in New Zealand, just a few hours up the road. And I first learned about Aaron and his story in a two-part interview with Jen on her podcast, The Art of Listening to Your Body. And holy moly, what an emotional ride that was. So if you follow on the conversation and you like what Aaron had to say, then I highly recommend checking that out. But yeah, after listening to that conversation and kind of throughout, I was just so impressed by how he spoke and how he shared so openly about his journey of grief and loss. And I was like, I have to meet this guy. And a few months later, Aaron was gracious enough to meet me, basically a stranger, who reached out on Instagram. We met for coffee and it was a really wholesome conversation. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what he's got to do with us today. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's dive straight in. You have to do that.
Sounds good, Hannah.
I wonder if you can start us off by sharing a bit about the loss you experienced, speaking about to that, and perhaps a few insights from your journey through grief, whether that's things that surprised you or perhaps things that you haven't really talked about before, others would be surprised to know about you.
Yep. Where does one start? I suppose the pieces they are really relevant, for our conversation in particular. In 2020, my wife passed from breast cancer. Like with a really aggressive cancer from when we sort of had the diagnosis and things like that until when she passed was basically a year. Leading to that, there was she'd been to the doctors 3 or 4 times, had a lump in her breast, but doctors weren't too concerned or anything like that. And really, I suppose by the time, after Kate really sort of to be sort of pretty aggressive to try and drive more intervention. Yeah, so like the breast cancer then was sort of spread to lymph nodes and stuff and also liver as well. So at that stage, Olivia, so I've got my daughter Olivia, she was 5, and then my son Ed was 3. So, I suppose just that's probably quite a common story. Life is going along pretty good, and we're lucky enough to live in Central Australia, which is a pretty amazing place to live. We'd sort of left Sydney with the 2 guiding lights for us with regards to an environment where we wanted to raise children. One was to be surrounded by nature, and the other was to be part of a small community. So we felt very grateful that was tick both of those boxes, and then, as I said, life was trucking on pretty good, and then all of a sudden wasn't. And potentially to be one of the sort of the first lessons that I would take out of this journey is that you just never know what's around the corner, and you want to make the most of those opportunities, particularly with your loved ones and those relationships which are important to you. So at that stage, like I was working for the rugby union, and as an organisation, their support to me was unbelievable. I'll forever be grateful. And as I say, with regards to Kate, she was a dietitian, like very, realistic though, so she had quite a following on social media. She'd written a book, and she was 12 years younger. So if you looked at Kate, she didn't smoke, she didn't really drink alcohol, lived a very, what you typically say is a healthy lifestyle, looked very healthy and fit, and to some degree that probably actually counted against us with regards to the way the medical system sort of looked at her, because she wasn't ticking any of the boxes. So therefore there was no sort of follow-up. It was only when she really started to drive it then that actually there was more urgency and things like that. So as I say, Kate, you sort of look at her, she was doing all the things you would typically say were the right things to do from a health wellbeing point of view. So, to say it came as a little bit of a shock was probably an understatement. That's sort of how everything started off.
As when I first listened and heard your story when Jen interviewed you on her podcast, The Art of Listening to Your Body, and I was just astounded by your whole roller coaster of a journey. Went with Kate as well. So if anyone, it's about 2 or 3 hours worth of conversation with Jen, wasn't it? So if anyone is interested, I definitely highly recommend having a listen. There's so much in there that, like to resonate with, and that is also so heartbreaking at the same time. Is that shock of when you least expect something, and it's hard to really feel that in an embodied sense when, if you have through something like that, to say like cherish every day and cherish your loved one, but until you've had your life turned upside down by something so unexpected, it's really hard to really grasp that in a deep way.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'll talk about. This is a generalised. So, so if you look at the average Kiwi male, probably the narrative is, we're probably not good at expressing our emotions, and then sometimes comes back to the fact that maybe we don't actually even have that skill set because of our upbringing with regards to being able to lean into deeper conversations. So if I look at myself personally, my background was, you'd probably say, very sort of male-dominated, ego-driven environments. I used to play rugby, and then I ended up working in rugby. And, then that's probably not the environment where you're developing those skills with regards to, deeper connection for relationships and things like that, so... and this is still, something that I wrestle with today is what could I have done better as a partner or a husband, or with the time that I had with Kate, and I won't get that opportunity to express those feelings here on earth again. So it probably goes back to what we were sort of saying right at the start with regards to, you want to make the most of those opportunities, because you don't want to be left in a situation where you have reflection, you sort of think, I could have done that better. That's just the reality which I live with sort of every day now. That's what I would say with regards to all the men out there is give your partner that extra hug, or tell them that you love them, or just check in. What can I be doing better? It's because when that opportunity's gone, then that's, and unfortunately, that's probably when we tend to reflect on these things, and by that stage, maybe you've already lost the opportunity.
And then, like, coming back to what you're saying about that, it's kind of being a cultural thing, but it's not throwing any shade on, because I know plenty of women who are similar. We've grown up in this culture, societal conditioning. You look at the whole context of how generations of Kiwis have been raised, and it was just not emotional intelligence and literacy is really not hard things we learned growing up. Like, we weren't taught it. It probably wasn't modeled well at home or even school and community. So, like, it makes sense. And there's that point of if you can release that name around it and start to be like, okay, this is the reality, and what grew so that I don't maybe miss out on some of these opportunities. So I wonder, has it been through this experience that you've started to, like, how did you go from this rugby dude to now? I heard you on Jen's podcast and you spoke this beautifully and so openly, so confident about speaking about how hard this experience was.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, I'm sure probably everyone agreed that it's been a long process, like the evolution of. But, like specifically since Kate's passed, I've tried to do a lot of things to support myself. A lot of that, the drive actually comes back to knowing that I need to be better, a better person to, to support the kids and things like that the way I want to. These look like, maybe sort of traditional, talk therapy. Did a big block on, again, talking with someone with regards to vision and values and things like that as well, which I found really, really powerful. I did a pretty amazing session with Jen, actually. So that was a combination of hands-on treatment, and as she was through a bit of talk therapy as well. So it was really weird, like one of my challenges after Kate passed, I could feel this big sort of emotional ball sort of sitting in my tummy. There was feelings of guilt around that fact, but then I also knew that I had this sort of energy sitting there that needed to be shifted and things like that. So that session, with Jen, like I was sort of lying on the massage table, and I just felt this massive relief of energy start at the base of my spine and go out the top of my head. And as that energy left my body, all of a sudden, just the floodgates open, and there was all these, because again, Jen was sort of leading maybe a thought process and stuff like that that went with it. A lot of the feelings, emotions, I suppose, that had been sitting there that I didn't even know, that all of a sudden they were sort of coming out. So that was pretty intense, but quite amazing. Support of your family and friends is massive. And then, one thing that I always felt was, or has been very helpful, one of those sort of foundational pieces with regards to health and well-being, having my food sort of pre-dialed in, even in those early days when Kate passed, I'd still prioritise some exercise or movement, because I know for myself, yes, obviously there's the physical benefits, but then the mental and emotional is probably even bigger, even though I'm feeling pretty shit with the world and life, and, I've got to do something there. So I'm really consistent with that. And then I've written like a gratitude journal for probably the last 10, 15 years. And again, like I feel that's actually one of my superpowers, actually. Like, it's most people, well, a lot of people, like, if they say, if they know me, they say I tend to be a pretty positive sort of person. And like I always say that's, as I said, like one of the big tools, or I think one of the benefits of the gratitude is it puts you in that space. So I'm rambling a little bit, but so as I say, like a lot of those sort of foundational pieces from a health and well-being point of view, they were already in place. So maybe like one of the things that I did, I had realised that when you're really being challenged, like from a mental emotional point of view, actually being able to implement strategies is bloody tough. It's almost going to be impossible, I'd say, because there's just so much of this stuff sort of ticking over in the background, So if you've already got those sort of things locked in place, they're your habits, your routines, your rituals, you understand that they're important, and then you can prioritise them. Well, then, that's when it can really make a big difference. And unfortunately, like I'd say, I'm going to single out the guys here. Quite often, for me to make that sort of shift, something dramatic has got to happen. So whether it's they have a bit of a health or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, shit, now I need to get these things in place. Whereas, probably you're increasing your chances if you can get them in place first. So that's your foundational piece. And then from there, when the ship does hit the fan, well, then you can sort of draw on these skills and then maybe, add a little bit of sort of icing on the cake sort of stuff for specific situations. And then, I've played around with things. It was actually another one that Jen advised me with was when you're in your car, just go out and scream, like if you feel you've got big emotions and stuff like that. And again, it's quite therapeutic or calming. Obviously, I've had like a breathing practice and meditation practice for a long time as well. Meditation, like I found I had to park that for a little bit. Was just finding it too sort of challenging to sit in that space alone because your brain's sort of gone a little bit haywire, although deep down that's probably what you need, and so there's a bit of conflict there. And that really interesting one was, so I was doing, we're lucky enough to live next to a pretty amazing lake. So you're surrounded by nature. So I've been doing sort of cold plunges. Let's go for a swim in the lake and things like that. And when Kate passed, for whatever reason, I just got this massive sense in my body to stop doing the cold plunges. Almost like it was saying, look, your body is stressed already. It's not what you need to be doing at the moment, which I still find pretty interesting actually. It's only sort of been recently that I've had any desire to actually go back and start doing that sort of stuff. Maybe one of the things that has been the most influential was I've done like a couple of mushroom ceremonies as well, and that just it's very hard to explain, but almost gives you an opportunity to opens up other pathways, so you can almost get a look at the world and things like that a little bit differently. And again, the first time I did it, it was a sense of, like I'm really sad for my loss, and it shifted me from being in that space to, look, I'm very sad for the loss, but I'm also grateful for the time with it, and that's one mushroom experience. Like that was 3+ years ago, and that still sits with me today and has been absolutely massively with regards to how I navigate the world and how I feel. It's not probably your sort of traditional path and things like that, but both, as I said, like both mushroom experience pretty amazing. And maybe I should sort of preface that with, Kate and myself, we did ayahuasca in Peru 2010. So we both, experienced plant medicine and how transformational it can be. This is with the shaman. So, I just went in with the intention that I'd let the medicine take me where it wants to go, and very open. And as I say, so both experiences. So I've actually, I did one sort of study recently that I won't speak about too much, but what I would say again, like there was this massive release of energy, and the next day when I was training, my body felt like a lot more sort of limber and mobile than in that sort of state as well. So this mushroom seemed to release a whole lot of energy from my body, which is actually taking tension out of my body as well. So like I've got a wee sort of mobility routine that I've been doing for a while. So had a pretty good baseline of how my body felt during it. And then the day after doing this ceremony, like I've gone through the routine and I feel different. What could this be? And then I suddenly thought, oh shit! I think as much as we think we know about the human body, it's just the tip of the iceberg, and that opportunity to maybe separate yourself from self through different perspectives, stuff like that is pretty powerful.
I invited you on because you have so much that you actually implement in your own life, and so practical and tangible. And what I'm kind of picking up from everything that you've shared there is that kind of two things, that self-awareness, really paying attention to those signs of what your body's needing or what you're needing, and all the options for gathering in that support or what type of therapy, quote unquote, that you were needing. Whether it's something small that we're being faced with or whether it is more like a life-changing loss. Like so often that advice is just, have you thought about talking to someone? And I mean, that's great, but you've just listed off 6 or 7 different ways of supporting yourself and seeking support from others that they're not necessarily conventional or traditional, like go to the medical centre, GP and do that, but that does not discount the power in a simple, whether it's mobility routine, physical practice, meditation, energy work, body work, gratitude, like all of that, all those pieces are, each one on its own is so powerful, but then combining them all together and figuring out which ones do work for you at certain times and paying attention to those signs is, I just love.
As I say, like it's a duty and it's always going to be very individualized as well. So as an example, we've fairly recently been to Australia to support, well, to celebrate actually Kate's, would have been her 40th birthday. And it was combined 40th celebration plus a bit of a memorial service because Kate's passed during COVID. So a lot of her really good girlfriends from school, university, friends, and family couldn't make the funeral. So it was a bit of a combined sort of thing. So after that, my kids actually stayed in Australia for a week and I came back to New Zealand. And so that's basically apart from the night being away from the kids for work and things, that's sort of the most time we've had apart, since past and things. And, what I realised was, there is a lot more, probably healing to do because when you're in the day-to-day moment, and this is only on reflection once I sort of got the opportunity, is that, you're in so much of it is surviving. You're doing what you need to do, because you've got to look after the kids and things like that. So actually, as I say, having that little bit of time away actually gave me the time and space to go, oh, shit, actually, I've got, there's a lot to go there. Like it's quite hard to explain really, but as I say, actually just at that time was probably just sort of highlighted a few things for me and things like that I wouldn't have got the opportunity to see unless I had that little bit of time and stuff.
Highlighting that, you don't get to the end of the first year and think the better. It's probably a lifelong relationship with and unpacking. And you spoke about guilt before as well. Like there's a whole lot can bring a lot of other things to the surface too.
Yeah, but it is interesting. Like it's a really good point you bring up, Hannah, because people sort of say that time is a great healer, and yes, I think it's some validity to it. But if I just look at myself, like I remember, so June's like a pretty tough time of the year for us. Like my daughter's birthday, it's Mother's Day, then it would have been Kate's birthday, then it's Kate's anniversary of her passing, all in a pretty short space of time. And I remember, the second and third year were a lot tougher than the first year, as an example. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe it's because that first year you've got adrenaline or whatever it is in your system, and you're just so wound up in survival mode that maybe things wash over you a little bit more. And whereas, what I found is as time goes on, sometimes some things actually get harder. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I was lucky enough for a mutual friend to get to speak to Dr. Paul Wood. And one of the things he said to me was when you have those big feelings well up around Kate and things like that, you never want those to go, because that's you showing or remembering how important she is to you. And that's that's really sort of stuck with me. So now when I have those feelings and things like that, because there's not a day that goes past where I don't think about Kate, whether I bet she's they're having a laugh at me with the kids because I've buggered that up, or she's annoyed with me because I've buggered that up, or but yeah, when you do have those feelings, you go, yeah, actually, love you because I love you and you're important, and that's so maybe you don't want those feelings to go, to a large degree, to have been at the local pool and stuff like that, and when a certain song came on, I'd dive under the water because I was crying. But I've probably shifted through that little state. But again, that same song, if I hear it now, depending on where I'm at, sometimes it can bring great memories of joy. It was us sort of bopping around as a family, and other times maybe I'm in a different place and it can be a little bit more challenging. But again, it's like it's just remembering someone that you love.
I think that's a beautiful way to think about that. Yeah. One final question, and that really links into what you were speaking about, stereotype, like Kiwi male, but women too. This we so live in culture where it's like, okay, that's done, let's move on, take a concrete pill hard enough and look to the next thing. Meanwhile, things might be falling apart, but you're just putting on this facade, or putting on got my shit together, think they're okay. But maybe there's a shame or a guilt or a rugged individualism that is holding someone from seeking support or even reaching out to a coach, someone like you have any words of wisdom for someone who is in a way self-isolating or doesn't know how to go about getting in touch with the right person?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, I think often, you want to drive change through action. Quite often we will sit there and go, look, I'm going to wait until I change and then I'll be all right. I want to wait to the time with the right person, whatever that narrative is that you're picking over. But it's actually, what's the small thing I can do today? So like, as you say, specifically in that situation, this is a very common pattern as we maybe internalize things. We actually withdraw, which we're the last and we want to be different. But in that situation, it might look like, well, I know if I can get out for a 5-minute walk today in nature, that's taking me in the right direction. Like, well, actually, 5 minutes is too much. Okay, great. Well, do 2 minutes. And you start, because that 2 minutes might actually turn into 5 minutes. But it's that act of taking a step or action, that's where the power is. Because they've got to start to change that narrative or that internal dialogue. Because then it takes you from being that victim mindset into actually I'm taking control again. And that it can be bloody hard to wrap your head around, because when your wife is just passed with cancer from it whom you love, and then you've got 2 kids, it's pretty easy to let that internal dialogue sort of become pretty negative and play that card and all that. Yeah, but it can create a little bit of a spiral, So a lot of it comes back to taking a little bit of control, but it doesn't really. It's not the size of the step or the action step. It's the consistency and then doing some. And to anyone that is listening that is finding things a bit tough and things like that at the moment, I hope they don't think I'm an arsehole for saying that, because it can be challenging and confronting. The big thing that I want to reinforce is that the step can be as big or as small as what you like. It's actually just making that step that is the key.
So, because they're like in your case and mine and many others that I've spoken with, so much basically all of it is out of our control, and the only thing that we can control is how we are showing up, what's happening, sometimes even inside, we don't have control over that either, but you are seeking, taking those actions to best support ourselves, and what does reclaiming that sense of agency, stepping out of that victim mindset that you talk about, that sometimes you'd be so valid to mull around and there for a while, but if you have family and other close people involved and that's starting to impact them, I know that was for me how I was thinking I was handling things okay, but it actually wasn't, and it took a conversation with my partner to say, look, you need to do something about this, and because it's starting to impact other people. And so Amy, we haven't spoken about this, but I've been thinking about it a bit recently, is that personal, that inner work is relational, it's community, it's family, and anything that you do for yourself is going to improve relationships around you.
Yeah, look, I think you actually nailed it when you said that word agency. That's a key piece to it. And that only comes back to responsibility for the self. If I'm in a better place, then it's got to be good for my kids or my friends and my family. And there's just such a foundational piece. I mean, you might expand that out and say, the quality of your relationships will determine the quality of your life. But you've got to bring something to it. Bring some value to those relationships.
I think we'll pause there. I would love to listen you down this rabbit hole. I just so appreciate you being so open and sharing all your wisdom and your experience. I know that just these grief and loss experiences can be so personal, complex, and so unique. And I'm sure other folks watching now or catching replay will really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity, Henry.
So before we let you go, I would love for you to share something that you're excited about at the moment, and where folks can learn more about you, or whether it's coaching or anything else that you just want to get into.
Yeah, something I'm excited about at the moment. That's a good question. Look, I started doing jiu-jitsu a few years ago, and I find it a constant source of frustration. But then every now and then you get to these sort of little wee wins where you feel maybe you're progressing. Maybe I should have mentioned this with regards to some of the things that I've done supporting my recovery, and I really feel it. It's a mindfulness practice. And I was particularly lucky when Kate first passed, a good training partner. She said, look, let's train regularly, bang, bang, bang. And that was maybe my hour away, my own thoughts and feelings, because if you're focused, then you get cope and things like that. I feel there's real value as we age to keep challenging yourself, and then also to continue learning as well. So jiu-jitsu sort of ticks that box. Work-wise, it's just Aaron Callaghan coaching, and primarily in that men's space, and it's very holistic. And so whether that's, depending on your goal, it's very sort of tailored and personalised. If you're interested, just drop me an email and we can have a bit of a chat about it.
And you've offered a fantastic taster for us today of how broad your holistic approach goes, as well as how practical and tangible in real life actually implementing these things is. Thank you so much for today, Aaron. I so appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. Really enjoyed it. Have a good day.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Your support and precious attention means a lot. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share your insights and takeaways on socials and tag at RewildYouHQ. If you're ready to rebuild and thrive beyond your loss or adversity, visit rewildyouhq.com for free resources and to learn more about how transformative, dedicated coaching can support you on your journey. Not sure where to begin? DM RewildYouHQ on Instagram and I'll be happy to guide you in the right direction. Take care out there, and I'll see you in the next episode.